Hi, everyone. Jane Applegath here, founder of the Epic Vision Zone, where your life becomes epic. Each show, we offer you an inspiring person or message to bring you closer to living your epic life story now. Thank you for being here. You can listen to the audio version on your favorite app, or be sure to watch us on YouTube and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Matshona wrote, "Brilliance is the masterpiece of your mind, excellence is the masterpiece of your heart, and genius is the masterpiece of your soul." Simon T. Bailey is one of the world's leading experts on brilliance. Simon, along with his team, purposefully aspire to ignite your innate brilliance. For over 20 years, Simon's personal development practices have served more than 2,400 organizations in 54 countries. With the Disney Institute as his launchpad, he has left an indelible mark on organizations such as American Express, Deloitte, Marriott, Visa, and many more. With 10 published books, a viral video with over 91 million views, a daily Spark You podcast, a community titled Brilliant You, and much more, Simon's new book, Resilience at Work: How to Coach Yourself into a Thriving Future, sheds light on the importance of cultivating resilience by making resilience your superpower. Recognized among Success Magazine Top 25, along with Brené Brown, Tony Robbins, and Oprah Winfrey, to mention a few. And through books, speeches, and coaching, Simon captivates and inspires audiences to lead better, stay curious, and embrace a growth mindset. Simon and his team are here to serve and empower individuals to reach new heights, guiding them towards a brilliance future. Welcome, Simon. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Jane. My stock just went up. I am with Jane again, virtually. This is awesome.
Thank you so much, Simon. Likewise, my gosh, I was just talking to Simon prior to coming on, and I just love his energy, no matter where he is, virtually or on stage. Simon fills a room with positive, brilliant energy, and that's where we're going. So excited to delve into this, Simon, and to have you here. So, what inspired you to uncover the mastery of brilliance?
My mentor said to me a number of years ago, you weren't born to fit in, you were born to be brilliant. And when he
Mm.
said it, something unlocked in me because no one had ever told me that I was born to be brilliant. I really felt average at that time. And so I started down this whole journey of researching, writing, asking, looking, what is this thing around brilliance? And what I realized, everyone has brilliance within them.
Mm. Yes, absolutely. I love your thinking, your mindset, because you took a concept that resonated with your heart and you dug in. And that's what I do. It's the curiosity. Curiosity is really where the growth lies, right? So thank you for that. And I'm so excited to delve into this because you're right. We were meant to be brilliant, each and every one of us. So then why author a book on resilience now?
Wow. So here's what we discovered. We did a national study called The State of Working America Thriving in Resilience and Brilliance. And we asked working Americans, how do they define resilience? And they define resilience as perseverance, problem solving, and grit. Then we turned
Mm.
around and asked working Americans, how do you define brilliance? And they define brilliance as confidence, intelligence, and creativity. So
Mm.
here's what we discovered in business and life is really like surfing in the ocean. You get knocked off your surfboard, but it's your resilience, problem solving, grit, perseverance that gets you back on the surfboard. And it's your brilliance, confidence, creativity, and intelligence that allows you to catch the next wave. So, resilience and brilliance are really the twins of your potential. And when
Mm.
you understand that life is going to happen, how do you dig deep with your resilience, but recognizing that you have true AI, actual intelligence, which is your brilliance?
Oh my gosh, that is gold. I love that. Actual intelligence and the balance of the brilliance and resilience. Oh my gosh, that is so brilliant. I mean, seriously, that's wonderful. I love that analogy, and it paints such a picture for people to resonate with. You know, being on the surfboard, and the resilience is getting back up there, but what keeps you there is the creativity and, you know, I'm sorry, I forgot the other two. The
No,
create,
yeah.
what were they again?
Creativity,
Creativity.
confidence,
Aha.
intelligence.
Great. Yes, I love it. Thank you so much for that. Well, how does someone then recognize their personal superpower?
What comes easy to you when all the chips are down?
Mm.
When everything is working against you, what do you go back to? That's your superpower that allows you to push through. So, for example, I was talking to someone and I began to ask them, what makes you come alive? And they said, the ability to bring joy to others. When they bring joy to others and they're not focused on woe is me, all of a sudden the power of helping someone else with no strings attached gives them a boost to say, wait a minute, that's my joy, that's my superpower. So, how do you shift in that direction and really strengthen yourself from the inside out?
Mm. Yes. So simple, but not always easy. But that awareness that you have, that you just given us, that awareness to say, what do you do when the chips are down? What lights your fire? You know, grab onto that, and that's your superpower. So, yes, thank you for that. So, in your book, you write about conquering your challenges. What strategies are vital to becoming the victor rather than the victim of your life circumstances?
Strategy number one, and that I invite all of your listeners to think about, is taking out a sheet of paper, set your timer to 30 seconds, and then hit go and write down what's right about you. When you
Mm.
go through this exercise, it's not about the quantity of what you write down, it's about the quality of what you see. Because so many times we can focus our energy on what's wrong with us instead of what's right about us. After you write it down, create a 30-second commercial with your phone where you take the video function of your phone, turn it in, and you begin to say, here's what's right about me. And I would encourage every listener to use the I am in front of whatever that is. What that does for you is when challenges come, and they will come, you now have a coping strategy to begin to say, yes, the challenges happen, but I'm going to move to victory starting right now.
Mm. What a fabulous tool to turn it in on yourself, not just write it down, because I know there is a brain connection there, but also then film it. So you have, like you said, a commercial, and save it, and maybe even go back to it when times get tough. Absolutely. That is brilliant. What can I say? It sounds like I'm just using that word, but I'm not. It's actually very, very, very brilliant. So you've really got me on this trail now, Simon, for sure. So I love I love your creativity. Here you have hurry, worry, ready, steady. Tell us what these individuals you called, you've actually called them individuals, what they mean. And I know that they're in your book. I just thought that was so creative.
So, hurry, worry, ready, and steady meet at a surfing camp. And at the end of each lesson, they go and sit by a campfire. And hurry and worry, ready and steady begin to unpack their story about life. So, the hurry personality begins to share their journey. They're always moving quickly. They're a day late, a dollar short. They seem to take 2 steps forward, 3 steps back because they're always in a hurry. Then there's worry, who's waiting for the other shoe to drop. The bottom has fallen out. The sky has fallen. They just left the meeting. Something was said. It triggered trauma within them. So now they're worried. How did I come off? What are they thinking about me? And they make up an entire story that causes them to worry. And then there is steady. Steady's superpower is calmness. Steady understands how to show up, be in the moment, listen instead of hear, ask instead of tell, connect instead of communicate. And it's that
Mm.
calmness that Steady is modeling for everyone. And then there's Ready. Ready understands that in the midst of uncertainty, that life is not a remote control. You can change the channel on your television. And so I'm mixing a metaphor intentionally, the surfing metaphor, but now we're talking about television because the most powerful movie screen in the entire world is the imagination. So Ready is projecting an image of no matter what the waves may bring, I have the ability, and so do you, hurry and worry, to be ready no matter what. And there's a fifth personality archetype that's introduced that's outside this circle of resilience, and that person is called curious. And they invite
Mm.
curious into the circle to self discover what does resilience at work really look like.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm processing all of that, and I love that it's in story form because you can really get an idea of where all of these fit and when you become that steady or ready or hurry or worry. I mean, it brings awareness. They say, okay, there's worry. So where do I go from here? And of course, there's the resilience part in there and the brilliance as well. So it all is woven together beautifully like a tapestry. Um, just amazing. And of course, all this information is in your new book. So we'll get into that because I just feel that this is like a handbook that everybody needs to have today, especially. So that being said, what are two pillars of resilience at work that you would like to highlight?
The first pillar is this ability to have a microscope to look at where you are, be self aware, and truly identify how am I doing? Because before you show up in the world, we have to deal with the inner world with that microscope.
Mhm.
But then we need a telescope that allows us to look through the windshield of time instead of the rear view mirror to say, where am I going? What am I going to do in order to build my perseverance, my problem solving, my grit? And so those two pillars, this ability to look within so that you can look without.
Mm. Yes, absolutely. We always have to start within. You know, that's where the core is. And without that, well, that's the unconscious individual, which we need a lot of help in that area, Simon, for sure.
Yeah.
And I could see where this could be so helpful. Well, what are three character traits of a resilient person?
Yeah. So a person who is resilient, they understand how to be better instead of bitter. So something will happen, and being better is how do I grow instead of why should I stay stuck or shrink? So this ability to be better, not bitter.
Mm.
The second thing is they bend, they don't break. They can experience death, business loss. Somebody just gave them the finger while they were driving down the road, and they're like, you know what? It's okay. Someone may have cut them off as they were walking into a public place of business. It's okay. And it doesn't mean that they're meek and weak. They understand how to be strong within themselves and not take anything personally. But I think the third thing that's probably most important, they have this ability to really look at what Dr. Martin Seligman, who is the father of positive psychology, calls this ability to ask yourself the question, what went well today?
Mm.
And the ability to self reflect on what went well, it strengthens that resilient muscle to know, you know what, I can't fix everything within a 24-hour cycle. But as I prepare for the next day, I'm going to focus on what went well.
Yes, that puts us in a positive mindset. It's almost the gratitude for. yourself. You know, we like to call it celebrate your micro wins, no matter what they
Yeah.
are. You know, I got out of bed, I made my bed. I mean, as small as they might seem, it's like you say, what went well today? And of course, they could be many other things. But yes, because unfortunately, the human mind likes to tend to go to the negative, but it's all a practice. And the more we practice, the more the default becomes the positive rather than the negative. That's how I see it, because we're every day we're practicing. Like you said, someday somebody will give you the finger and you're like, eh, and then some days you're like, no, you know what? Not going to do it. So it's not going to drag me in there. Absolutely. Well, how does then having a resilient personality affect our state of being, both in our personal lives and our business and career lives?
Well, first of all, your resilience really impacts your health because when you understand
Mm,
how to, whatever your listeners, their practice might be, how do you start with looking at where you are spiritually? I remember years ago, I was sharing the stage with the late, great Dr. Stephen Covey, who wrote Seven
mm,
Habits of Highly Effective People. And Jane, he said something that was so powerful. I had never heard it before. He said, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spirit beings having a human experience. And when he said it,
mhm,
I had never heard it before. I was like, whoa, that is so profound. So, individuals who really understand how to be resilient, they really look at spiritually how they show up. Just how are they doing? Because people feed off of energy. And
mm,
sometimes our energy is talking so loud and words have never left our mouth. So, this ability to say, just am I in a good energetic space? Number one. Then, number two, how you talk to yourself determines how
mhm,
you feel and think about yourself. So, is there an opportunity to upgrade your verbal software? Because
mhm,
language is the software of the mind, and words carry energy. So, when words are released from your mouth, are you hugging people with your words or are you rejecting people with your words, right? Because that creates the future. Words create worlds, they create
mhm,
outcomes. And then the third thing to really consider as it relates to being resilient is this place of coming from intellectual humility, meaning you don't have to have all the answers, but when you show up, you listen more than you talk. You ask more questions so that the questions immerse the listeners on a quest to discover answers that are supposed to emerge.
mm. I'm going to go back and listen to this entire interview afterwards. Simon. That was, I love that. All of it, sending you on a quest to look and search for the answers that almost like God or the universe wants you to have. Yes, absolutely. And there's so much there that you just said. That was beautifully said. Thank you so much. Well, what are a few good habits of a resilient person?
Number one, this ability to truly be self-aware. They know where they are at all times in their thinking, in their feeling, in their believing, their actions, constantly evaluating how am I showing up and what can I do better. I think the second characteristic or trait of a resilient person is this ability to move from what I would call selective hearing to authentic listening. So when they are in conversation, it's not about them getting their point across or having a need to be right. One of my greatest failures is at times in certain settings, I can be total type A. My point is the point, and I'm speaking head over heels above the crowd. That is not what resilient people do. Resilient people truly understand, how do I be quiet in the moment? And how do I ensure that my mouth isn't moving faster than my mind? And how do I listen to all of the voices in the room and I engage all of the intelligence in the room for who I become in the process? And I think the third one, if I was going to add to that, is this ability to always kind of step back and say, what just happened? And what can I do differently or better? the next time.
Mm-hmm. Perspective. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. I always say that our experiences are not an end, but a beginning. And it's how we perceive them that whether we move forward or backwards. So, yeah, that's very, very, it provides individuals with information to ponder, to think about.
Yeah.
And I love that because you've got my wheels turning, but also I could see where this, when you do your presentations and your audience is there and they're hanging on your every word because you've got them, like you said, getting them curious to ask the question that God or the universe wants them to learn or to embody, whatever that might be. Yes. So you're like drawing this out of them, and that's your energy. You're a conduit to provide that. Yes. I mean, this is just me talking off the top of my head, but that's how I feel anyway, for sure. Well, what is paramount to have resilience in dealing with change? Because we are in such a changing environment today, and a lot of people call it chaos. People are uncertain. So this is a really, really powerful skill, or I don't know how you describe resilience. Do you call it a skill? I know it can be learned.
Resilience is one of the most important skills that the World Economic Forum, McKinsey, countries around the world are doubling down to say we must create a resilient culture. So there's a Yiddish proverb that says the only person that likes change is a wet baby. Nobody likes change, the truth be
That's
told.
great.
But I want to invite our listeners into just a different perspective, and that is it's not so much the change that happens. Where people get stuck is the transition, because the
Mm.
transition is I have to now make sense of a world that no longer exists. A noted philosopher once said, in times of change, the learners inherit the earth, while the unlearned will find themselves beautifully equipped to live in a world that no longer exists. So, what that means is the
Mm.
changes happen. How do I deal with the transition, and how do I learn, unlearn, and relearn for where I'm going? So that means in the transition, how do I translate? This is what I did yesterday. Here's what I'm going to do tomorrow. Here's what I'm going to do next week. And in that translation, I'm embracing the transition and I'm not getting lost in the change, because the
Mm.
change is the noise. The change is the static on the line. It's the transition. What's my new habits? What's my belief? What's my behavior? How do I show up?
Right. Absolutely. Yes. I hadn't heard it put that way, but you are absolutely spot on. It is the transition. And, that's many of us, well, a lot of us don't see it that way, but you're right, because we see it as an ending. And you could say it's a new beginning, but really it's more of like a curve. We want to, that was yesterday, this is today, and tomorrow will be this. So yes, and I'm sure you have tools and teachings to help individuals come into that transition, but so vital today and needed in our world. And I would say on a personal level, on a professional level, right across the board. So that being said, what are keys to becoming and staying resilient? Because we can, I'm not sure if you've experienced it, but you have all these practices, you know what you're supposed to do, but then things happen and situations come to play, and then all of a sudden you're back into the victim mode. So, what are the keys to becoming and staying resilient?
I think the first key is scheduling an appointment with yourself before your
Mm.
head hits the pillow at night, and self reflect and say, what did I learn today? How did I grow today? And what difference can I make tomorrow? That habit, in and of itself, creates the neural pathway of being resilient, because it allows you to zoom in a little bit as you reflect on the day. That's number one. Number two, be very mindful of the things that you take in from social media. In social media, not everything is positive. In fact, one of the most popular courses on college campuses right now is media literacy. How do you decode, define, and really decipher what's real, what's not real? But I believe there's also an opportunity to go on a digital vacation from time to time where you just unplug and you control the intake of what you're listening to. And I think the third thing to consider to really stay on the path of being resilient, and this is going to be so oversimplified, be kind and nice. What the
Mm.
world needs right now are people who show up in healing presence just to be kind. How are you? And there's nothing to gain. You're not trying to sell anything. How are you? How can I best serve you? Be kind, be nice.
Mm. Yes, absolutely. Because when we give, we receive. And there's no question that
Yes,
that feeling just fills you with joy. I mean, I know that's your world, that's my world, because we're always providing information and knowledge and inspiration. And it's such a blessing to be able to serve others. And there's nothing like that. And like you said, I mean, it's even as small as I go and get a coffee and I remember the girl's name, and she just lit up. She goes, "Oh my God, you remembered." And it was just, and her joy became my joy because I just thought, "Oh, that's wonderful." I made a new friend, and then, we just start chatting. But yes, because people are hungry for that, but also it just shows that we're all human and we are connected. So yeah, and it can be something so simple as that, or just even saying hello, to the person behind
yes.
the counter or someone that you're passing, and just wave and say hi. Yeah. It 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 really is fulfilling for sure. And those other tips were fabulous too. So can resilience be learned? I know I touched on this, but give us some insight into how this skill can be learned.
So think about the first time you learned to drive a car. Perhaps there was a driving instructor or a family member who put you behind the wheel and gave you a shot to steer the car, to take it out of park and move it to drive or reverse. And over time, you develop that muscle to steer the car in a certain direction. I know for me, this is where you insert bless my heart, which is a saying in the South where I live. I failed my driver's license exam 2 times because, Jane, I could not parallel park.
Oh, I'm with you.
So
I'm with you.
So my father would work with me after he got off of work to show me how to parallel park. Eventually, I developed the resilience to say, I think I can do this. Most recently, I learned to swim, okay, which is like a big deal because I had almost drowned when I was 8 years of age. And I think there was just a little bit of fear of getting in the water. But I love, being at the beach and working on my tan. Wink, wink, bad joke. So, um, what I realized in swimming, I went to the lesson and I was there with at least 10 other adults, and we're all learning together. And what I realized, I had to get back in the water and I had to just keep going. I had to keep going. And eventually I learned how to swim, but it took the resilient decision to take one more step. And I think probably the
Mm.
third example is to think about everyone is dealing with something. And how do we show up to help someone, not for what we can get from them, but who we become in the process when we help someone else? That creates more resilience in us to always be coming from a place of gratitude and sharing and caring about humanity.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I love your swimming story, by the way. That takes courage too. because as an adult, you're more aware of what could go wrong. As a child, you're like, oh yeah, sure, I can get in the water and do that. It's like, I won't drown. What's that? But yeah, that takes a lot of courage. So kudos to you. And I hope you're enjoying the water now,
Yes.
along with the
Fine.
beach. Good. Good for you. Well, we'll see you on the Olympic team next go around.
Oh, Lord.
You never know. So here we are. I would love for you to delve into your incredible new book. So tell us what makes your book unique and relatable.
Well, first of all, we invite people into a conversation in this parable to self discover. And what I mean by that is, after writing many books, my past books were very prescriptive. Do this, here's this step, here's that step. But after I introduce you to the four personality archetypes plus one, you get to decide at what time in your life were you in a hurry? Perhaps you worried. Was there an opportunity when you were steady or ready? And you get to decide as you listen to their story, and also, when have you identified being curious? Okay. The second thing is, I give you three questions that come from a licensed psychologist, Dr. Larry Kiefhofer, who gave me permission to include these questions in the book. And part of the reason why I include the questions in the book, I was talking with one of my mentors, Tom Wininger, and he said, you come to me asking what I think you should do. I can't tell you what to do. You know your data better than I know your data. So these questions invite you to look at your data, and then you decide what's the next step for you. So
Okay.
that's another benefit of reading the book.
Yes, it sounds like a workbook as well. Like there are exercises, and there's the knowledge and the wisdom woven through that. And of course, you have some stories, I believe, in there that help us to understand, like just as you're sharing here, that help us understand the different platforms, the pillars, whatever it might be. So thank you for that. I feel in my heart, Simon, that this will be another bestseller for sure. There's no question.
Oh,
And I love the title, by the way. It's fabulous.
thank you.
Fabulous. So tell our audience where they can connect with you, because I know you have different, you have a web, not only your website, but you have a podcast, not sure if you have a newsletter. So just share with our audience where different places they can connect with you.
Everything is at simontbailey.com. T for terrific, simontbailey.com.
Okay, wonderful. I love that. Make it simple. So if there were one message, Simon, that you would like to share with the world, what would that be?
I believe the one message that everyone needs to hear is, no matter where you are in your journey, when you're knocked off the surfboard of life, you can get back up again. Your resilience will get you back on that surfboard, and your brilliance will allow you to surf into a better future.
Mm, yes, beautiful. So well put. And I have one last question, because we're here on the Epic Vision Zone. If your life were an epic story, what would the title be?
He hugged people with his words and lifted humanity.
Oh, I love that. A hug with your words and lifted humanity. Such a great visual. Well, thank you again, Simon, for joining us here today. And be sure to check out Simon's new book, Resilience at Work: How to Coach Yourself into a Thriving Future. I know you probably won't be able to put it down. I can't wait to read it. And you can also find all of Simon's social links and contact information on the Epic Vision Zone bio pages. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at Jane Applegath. And don't forget to reach out to me at janeapplegath.com. Looking forward to connecting with you. This is the Epic Vision Zone, transforming your dreams into epic success.